Warm greetings to you all. You are welcome to this distinguished lecture series organized by Anthropological Association for Humankind. Purpose of this distinguished lecture series is showcase the significant contributions of anthropologists towards addressing some of the world's most pressing issues. By featuring prominent figures in the field, it aims to underscore the relevance and importance of anthropology in understanding and addressing complex global challenges. Secondly, knowledge dissemination. Through both video series and published textbooks, the lecture series serves as a platform for disseminating knowledge and insights derived from anthropological research. This dissemination is not limited to academic circles, but extends to a wider audience, including students, policymakers, and the general public. The third purpose is educational resource. The lecture series serves as a valuable educational resource, particularly for master's programs in universities. By providing access to video series and textbooks, it enriches the learning experience of students pursuing advanced studies in anthropology. It offers them a comprehensive understanding of how anthropologists approach various societal issues and contribute to human understanding. Fourthly, inspiration and guidance. By featuring lead, by featuring leading anthropologists and their work, the series aims to inspire future generations of scholars and practitioners. It provides insights into the methodologies, theories, and ethical considerations involved in anthropological research, thereby guiding aspiring anthropologists in their academic and professional endeavors. Finally, promoting interdisciplinary collaboration. Anthropology often intersects with other disciplines such as sociology, psychology, environmental studies, and public health, and biological sciences. The lecture series can foster interdisciplinary collaboration by highlighting the interdisciplinary nature of anthropological research and its relevance to addressing complex, multifaceted challenges. Overall, the distinguished lecture series organized by Anthropological Association for Humankind serves as a platform for showcasing the breadth and depth of anthropological inquiry, its practical applications in addressing real-world problems, and its role in advancing human understanding and social change. It is a great honor for me to introduce our distinguished speaker, Professor Barnabas Danborno. He received his BSc in anatomy in 1992 from the University of Maiduguri. He joined the services of the Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, in 1994 as a graduate assistant in the Department of Anatomy. He obtained his MSc and PhD from Ahmadu Bello University in 2002 and 2008, respectively. While undergoing his doctoral program, he enrolled in the Kisco Certified Network Associate program at the Kisco Academy of the Ahmadu Bello University and graduated in 2006. He has taught and coordinated many courses for undergraduate and postgraduate studies in gross anatomy, embryology, cell biology, genetics, and biological anthropology. He delivered and taught introduction to ICT, molecular cell biology for undergraduate and molecular genetics and biomedical informatics for postgraduate students. He has supervised Master of Science dissertations and PhD theses, primarily in biological anthropology, cell biology, and molecular genetics. In 2009, he won a Venegan short-term fellowship to undergo training in anthropological genetics in the Laboratory of Biological Anthropology, Department of Anthropology at the University of Kansas, United States. Under the tutelage of Michael H. Crawford, um, Professor Michael H. Crawford, a leading figure in anthropological genetics during his training in anthropological genetics at the University of Kansas. He has attended a summer school and obtained a certificate in teaching about Africa, methods and strategies from the University of Kansas African Studies Center. He has held several administrative positions. He was an examination officer and BS anatomy program coordinator, postgraduate coordinator, and head of department. In 2010, he won the American Association for Anatomy education outreach grant to organize a weekend with anatomists and new technologies for teaching anatomy. He hosted the first AAA education outreach in Africa. He served as the Secretary General of the Anatomical Society of Nigeria from 2008 to 2010. And he has been the vice president of the Nigerian Society for Human Genetics from 2019 to present. He also the current president of the Anatomical Society of Nigeria. In 2012, Professor Danborno was awarded a fellowship to attend the summer program in Neuroscience, Ethics and Survival course funded by the National Institute of Mental Health at the Marine Biological Laboratory, Woodhouse, United States. He also spent a month in the laboratory of Dr. Scott Brady of the Department of Anatomy and Cell Biology, University of Illinois, Chicago, at the MBL, studying the mechanism of fast molecular axonal transport in the squid giant axon. In 2013, he received a fellowship from TRE and trained to attend the first IBRO ARC School of Insect Neuroscience and Neurogenetics held at Kampala University, Kampala International University, Ishaka, Bishnai, Uganda. This school was an initiation into the world of the fruit fly, Drosophila, and related species. He has been a former and current member of many scientific societies, including the American Association for Anatomy, the American Association of Biological Anthropologists, the Anatomical Society, the Society for the Study of Human Biology, the Society of Neuroscientists of Africa, the Society for Experimental and Clinical Anatomies of Nigeria, Neuroscience Society of Nigeria, Nigerian Society of Human Genetics, Anthropological Association for Humankind, and Human Biology Association. Professor Danborno and his students have been studying the biology of the Nigerian population using anthropological and genetic approaches. He has attended many local and international conferences and workshops, has published over 100 scientific articles, and is an editorial board member and a reviewer for some biomedical journals. Professor Don Borno and his wife, Associate Professor Angela Danborno, founded a non-for-profit organization, STEM for Girls Nigeria, in 2017 to encourage girls and young women to pursue studies and careers in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. STEM. Since its inception, STEM for Girls Nigeria has conducted annual STEM outreach events in Karu, Nasarawa State, and Zaria, Kaduna State, and sponsored by the Ibro Dana Foundation, brain awareness project and supported by Trend in Africa and also by friends. In 2019, Professor Danborno was awarded a fellowship to attend the first genome editing course organized by the Foundation for the National Institute of Health, held at the International Center for Insect Ecology and Physiology in Nairobi, Kenya. Professor Don Bono was also selected to attend the African Science Literacy Network, organized in partnership with the Science Communication Hub Nigeria, and later conferred with the fellowship of ASLN. In January 2021, Professor Donborno presented the Second Anatomical Society of Nigeria webinar series on a topic titled Genome Editing, the CRISPR Case 9 Revolution. This talk was based on his experience teaching genetics for more than 2.5 decades, and also from the course he attended in Kenya on genome editing by the Foundation for the National Institute of Health. Professor Don Borno co-organized the first international brain research organization, African Regional Committee, IBRO ARC, School of Neurogenetics and Survival Skills for Young Neuroscientists. This is the first IBRO ARC school to be conducted in northern Nigeria, centered on neurogenetics and survival skills, which took place in September 2022 in Abuja. Professor Don Bono was conferred with the highest honor by the Anatomical Society of Nigeria Fellowship for his contribution to the growth and development of ASN in 2021. He was also elected as a fellow of the Human Biology Association in 2023. He was also a keynote speaker at the Society of Experimental and Clinical Anatomists of Nigeria conference in 2022, where he gave a talk on anatomy now and what next. Professor Don Bono also co-organized an outreach supported by the International Parkinson's and Movement Disorder Society titled Movement Disorders, Awareness and Current Trends in 2022. Last year, he was also a keynote speaker at the Anatomical Society of Nigeria annual conference at the Federal University, Oye Ekiti, where he delivered a lecture titled War and Natural Disasters, the Role of Forensic Anthropologists. Ladies and gentlemen, I hereby present to you Professor Don Bono for his lecture titled Anthropology in the Age of Artificial Intelligence. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation, introduction. I'm happy to actually be here to make this distinguished lecture titled Anthropology in the Age of Artificial Intelligence. You will recall that this particular honor was given to us in one of the last meetings of the Governing Council of the Women Association of Anthropological Association for Humankind. And I asked a question that day that, okay, what do you really want me to talk about? And I was given the choice to choose whatever thing I wanted to talk about. So this idea came to my mind, anthropology in the age of artificial intelligence. If there is any two words that have actually become very popular or trending, I think is artificial intelligence. But for us as anthropologists, we needed to look at it from our profession, our practice in the age of artificial intelligence. I don't know whether you have ever envisaged a time when you will sit down and be relaxing, taking a cup of coffee with a non-human, an Android robot. I don't know whether you are in research that, but people have done that. And they have said, actually, this is going to come in the next few years. So my talk is actually going to cover this outline, the development of anthropological thoughts down to digital transformation and ecosystem, emergence of digital anthropology, background to AI, anthropological sciences and AI, and then we'll conclude and then we'll take some recommendations. All of us here essentially are anthropologists, either as full anthropologists or people who have interest in the study of anthropology. And as we are very familiar, there are major four sections of anthropology, which are actually depicted in this particular image: archaeology, cultural anthropology, biological anthropology, and linguistic anthropology. Even though this can further be broken down into some other components, but then again, if we want to define anthropology, we can simply define anthropology as a study of man in time and space. So this second image here shows us all the intricacies of where anthropology is studied from the archaeological perspective, from the biological perspective, and then also from the culture and the linguistical perspective. But for me, and for a large number of people in this audience, especially the guests from Nigeria, we are actually more into biological anthropology. And even in the biological anthropology, we're actually taking a section of it. We're looking into molecular anthropology, some form of forensic anthropology, and essentially human biological studies. So if we are looking at the issue of anthropological trust development, we can appreciate the fact that the anthropology is not a very old science. It's something that actually started in the 20th century with the ideas of people like Malinowski, which emphasized the idea of participant observation, the Gilbert Wright that talks about thick description of culture. To what good enough, culture is actually located in the hearts of men. And that is why you can remove a man from a particular place and take him to another location altogether. He still make reference to his culture. I know I have, without prejudice to, or with all due respect to members of this particular audience, I have seen where parents who have immigrated from Asia, from Africa, have gone to the United States, but they still hold on to their culture. And in some instances, some parents have actually executed what is called honor killing, simply because their daughters have decided to do something different from their culture. So what does that tell you? It tells you the fact that culture is actually located in the hearts of men. Environment has little to do with that. And then in 1958, Stanley Cavell said, must we mean what we say on symbols and meanings, and then a thick description in the interpretation of culture. Earlier we thought that anthropology has less to do with data, but today, we need to correct that impression. There is a copious, approach to data analysis in anthropology. And that is why, for instance, in 2011, the concept of data anthropology began to emerge. We can see here Dana Boyd presenting the fact that there are 6 provocations for big data. Big data have actually come to stay and is revolutionizing the way we are thinking, because again, because of the importance of big data, Genevieve Bell in 2012 described big data as a person, because big data is now advising humans, following patterns and stuff like that. In the same 2012, Jana Borrell actually says small data people in a big data world. Actually, as human beings, our capacity to analyze quantum of data is limited. But then again, because of the emergence of technologies today, we are actually able to understand this idea of big data. And that is why she presented the idea that we are small data people, but then we are in a big world, big data world. Now, one of the interesting thing about data was actually discovered by Trisha Wang in 2013, and she made this this particular presentation that tick data is why big data needs tick data. And what is tick data? Now, if you look at what big data and tick data are, one is actually machine-centric, where, how, when, and who. Quantitative in nature, data is so massive, and then at the end of the day is mathematically and then computer science based. Whereas tick data is actually human-centric, and the question of why did this thing happen always comes to play. And then is qualitative. You deal with a small amount of data, is irreducible complexity, and then directly anthropological, and then describing the social character. Actually, she did a research when she was with Nokia in 2009, and she came up with this idea that while Nokia as an organization was much concerned about big data, analyzing very humongous data, for instance, as you can see here, 1 million of customers data being analyzed. Tricia, when she was actually working with Nokia, she took time to look at a small number of customers and then dive deep into the customers to find out the why, that we have said earlier on. And at the end of the day, she actually believed that one of the reasons why Nokia has not done very well, in terms of the issue of mobile technology, that they were in the forefront, was the negligence of this tick data concept, just basing the idea on big data. So the issue here is the fact that uh, big data actually needs tick data. So what are the current ideas now? The current ideas now in 2014 by Axel and Block, complementary social science, qualitative experiment in big data world, and then partner and project data mining workplace sensors, a new approach to anthropology. So the idea here is that more and more, idea translating into technology has begun to be established. Tick big data. Now, you remember we talk about tick data, we also talk about big data. Now there is emergence of tick and big data. So you need large amount of data, but you also need to go into the quality and asking the question of why. This is being done in the social sciences. Then the tick machine. Now, this is the idea of what we are discussing today, which is anthropological AI, now between explanation and explication. Now, you see why we need to really follow this idea is the fact that whether we like it or not, there has been an evolution of technology, and this technology has actually changed and shaped the way we've been doing things and the way we've been talking. So when we talk about digital ecosystem, we're really talking about the combination of all the technologies that exist that provides information that we need to make decisions. So the components of this digital ecosystem will include we, the people, the technology that have been developed over time, the strategies to follow on with this technology, and the channels by which this technology are actually used. Like right now, we are scattered all over the world, and we are listening and discussing in this particular forum. 15 years ago, this may not be very possible. 20 years ago, maybe impossible. 30 years ago, the thought was not even there. But today, you can see ourselves actually dealing with this idea. So when you want to take a typical ecosystem in the representing the world as reported by the United Nations Environment Office, they told us that, see, we have satellites, thousands of satellites are there in the space, and they're reporting, data on a daily basis. We also have the Internet of Things today, creating and producing over 400 zettabytes of data. I hope we understand the quantum of data that is actually being generated. And that is why we are today in a big world, in a big data world. Internet access, more than half of the population of the world actually have some form of internet access. And then digital platforms of all kinds, the idea including YouTube, Amazon, Ubers, and stuff like that. Now, these are the things that are actually forming all these ideas. Now, and the existence of these technologies has enabled the society to be digitally transformed. And these transformations are actually based on the technologies that are shown on this screen, which AI is one of the things we are going to discuss. Please, I would like to crave your indulgence to just view a short video. This video describes or gives us an idea of the fact that the digital transformation that is taking place will go so advanced, and this will be done in just a few years to come. In 2030, this is what was believed or is believed to actually happen, just in 2030.
In the Intelligent World 2030, digital government adapts to people's livelihoods. A dynamic and multidimensional labor force, blending human insight with robotics, AI, and more, becomes a key factor in production. People's focus shifts beyond material wealth, and digital means achieve digital equity and fairness, as well as taking control of the metabolism, the very health of the earth. New connectivity, new computing, new platform, new ecosystem. These build the foundation of the Intelligent World 2030. New connectivity, 5G-based communications technologies enable ubiquitous connectivity and all-domain perception. New computing, from silicon computing to optical computing and quantum computing, from all-flash to DNA storage. An open computing ecosystem enables pervasive intelligence. New platform, the ongoing accumulation of industry experience into a converged digital platform, which can be inherited, ultimately enabling digital innovation in all industries. New ecosystem. The SAPO-based collaborative ecosystem provides more comprehensive customer-oriented commercial solutions. Welcome to the Intelligent World 2030, intelligent, green, and resolutely people-oriented.
Our conference that is coming up in 2025 is centered around climate change. And that is why the conference, as the local organizing committee we are working on, they have actually gone to the Climate Change Center to ensure that there is maximum deliberation and implementation of the concept of the conference. So apart from the fact that the climate change should be given attention, we will have seen from this video that the intelligent world, which is completely different from what we are used to, is emerging. And by this video is going to be very possible in the next 6 years. So that is why, again, the movers of this particular idea have decided that anthropology should actually go up notch. And that is why here we have what we call digital anthropology. Now, what is digital anthropology? Is actually the application of digital technology to the study of to the study of anthropology, as you can see depicted in this particular image. So what are the innovations? The innovations are the fact that when the science emerged, in the early 20s, like we have seen previously, the idea of digital revolution beginning in the 1980s, and then the practice of doing anthropology digitally commences in the 1990s. And by the 2000, the big data and data science revolution also has emerged, like we have just seen. And then by the 2010, the practice of doing digital anthropologically also emerged. Then Like right now, there is a blending of this technology in what we call digital innovation and anthropology emerging presently. Now, UNESCO that we have seen earlier on, the organization actually pushing for this idea. And there is a center in Germany known as the Liu Center that is actually at the background of this idea. So the digital landscape for digital innovation and anthropology is where this idea, so they have actually put a report together, this is actually a cover of the report, where they are presenting the idea that there is new horizon in digital anthropology. And what we are talking about the fact that we need to digitize and then humanizing and in anthropology, tourism, computational anthropology, and then digital anthropology. Like I said, some years ago, we will have thought that, okay, how digital? Today, seeing that the other time, oh, there was a program by AFH, on digital ethnography. So when we want to digitize the human, then we need to do digital ethnography. We need to do ethnography, and then we need to also look into tick data that we have seen earlier on. And again, doing the digital anthropologically, we need to humanize the digital, and that is where the idea of AI and data ethics is coming to play, where we need to study human applications of technology like AI, algorithm, and data analysis. Now, we are actually going into an unexplored realm, and we need to be very careful because of that, as we are going to see at the end of this particular presentation. Now, these have led to the publications of different books, of different novels and stuff like that. One of them that caught my attention is this one that is actually in the center, Humans No More. That was published not long ago. And in that, they were looking at the fact that we need to be careful because we are becoming humans no more. And how is that possible? By the way, in popular culture, quite a number of movies have actually been produced. Some of them we just watch them as science fiction. And some of them are actually on the slide here. iRobot, for instance, if anybody, I suppose some of us on this audience will watch iRobot, where robots were being produced, and at the end of the day, they rebel against humanity. Matrix, we also saw how, and stuff like that. So these are the things that we must keep in our mind as we actually enter into another realm altogether. Today, we are in the concept of brain-machine interface. People who are handicapped as a result of injury, whether spinal cord, whatever kind of injury that they have become disabled, they cannot use their hands. And so you have companies like Synchron who are actually developing some technologies that they can insert into the brains. And then these people can actually control devices just by mere thinking, just using their thought. And I know we are very familiar with the recent happening, just this year, January this year, Neuralink, a company started or co-founded by Elon Musk, came up with this idea that they have their chip, and this chip is going to be implanted into the brains of people, and then these people can actually regain functions that they have lost as a result of injuries, as a result of diseases and stuff like that. But then again, this idea is actually going beyond that. In this particular picture, you can see they are investigating a scenario where tomorrow people do not need to carry cell phones around. They can communicate directly, brain-to-brain communication. So, is that really surprising? No. Just a few years ago, this particular Android robot was actually produced. She is called Sophia. And just recently, the Saudi Arabian government or kingdom have actually granted her, citizenship, as you can see here. Excuse me. Oh,
So welcome to the world, Sophia.
Sophia has been well.
Hello, World.
We have a little announcement. I've never interviewed anybody like that before, and I should say some of it was planned, but not completely. And we just learned, Sophia, I hope you're listening to me, that you have been now awarded what is going to be the first Saudi citizenship for a robot.
Oh, I would thank very much the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. I am very honored and proud for this unique distinction. This is historical to be the first robot in the world to be recognized with a citizenship.
You know what happened with that story is the fact that a robot was granted the citizenship of Saudi Arabia. So you see, concepts are also changing over time. When we talk about humans, we need to begin to find out what is the next definition of humans. Why will a machine be given citizenship? In fact, this generated a lot of uproar from people. They say we have been looking for citizenship in Saudi Arabia. The Saudi kingdom is not giving us this citizenship, but she has gone ahead to give, a robot citizenship. So these are the things, evolving ideas that are actually happening today. Just yesterday, I came across this particular information. In India, Kerala, you can see a teacher that is actually a robot have actually been introduced in the school there. Now, one of the things that became very interesting about this story is the fact that it was reported that there is actually zero absenteeism in the class of this particular robot called Iris. So now the students are so excited, they really want to know and see, because this particular robot can speak 3 different languages and can teach virtually all the subjects. So that was really exciting to the students. And anytime it was a class by that robot, 100% attendance. So when we talk about AI and anthropology, we are talking about the intersection where anthropology and AI actually, and when we talk about AI, what is AI? We're talking about a system, whether it's computer, whether it's a robot that can actually perform a particular task like intelligent beings will actually do. Now, for us to appreciate, there are actually 4 or even different types of artificial intelligence. But then we should just look at one reactive in the sense that they can actually do certain things directly. Then the other one is a limited memory that has to do with things like generative AI. And today we know, e.g., OpenAI introducing ChatGPT is revolutionizing the way we do stuff and stuff like that. Then theory of the mind, understand the needs of other intelligent entities, and then self-awareness, evolve to have human like. This is where the problem is, and this is where there's actually fear by people. So AI is changing the way we are doing things. Yes, we are going to actually be affected. That is another thing we should know, because if, for instance, companies are going to be using AI for customer care, that means the whole of the workforce in customer care are not going to be needed and stuff like that. While it makes our life easy, we should also know that there are consequences. Now, the history, we are not going to say much about it, but it's something that started within the last century. And today, we can see the great impact that it has actually cost us. From 2000 to now, so many things have happened such that the question is asked, will AI change the world forever? My own humble submission here is the fact that yes, AI is going to change the world forever. And these are the levels by which AI actually does this. At the level of the artificial intelligence infrastructure, you have data, whereas where big data becomes necessary, to the stage of storage, machine learning, and then the AI framework, up to the idea of the fundamental science, industrial manufacturing in our daily lives, in government. Now, you go across the world, all governments are adapting, into the digital transformation, which eventually becomes what we call the AI plus social governance, and then the AI and cyberspace. Now, the disruption that AI has caused was so significant that some form of moratorium was actually needed to be placed in, in different places, in different countries. For instance, you can see, in Italy, 1st March 2023, The Italian government temporarily blocks ChatGPT over data privacy. In the US, April 11, 2023, US regulators announced the first step towards drawing up rules. And then in April 18, again in Italy, you can see regulators ready to reopen ChatGPT now after believing that there is less risk. Now, looking into that perspective, the Royal Anthropological Institute decided that there is a need to actually look at this idea closely, and that is why a conference was actually held in 2022. And the focus of that conference is anthropology, AI, and the future of human society. The Makula Center in Boston also came up with this conference. What does it mean to be human in the time of AI? Now, you see, the definition is actually changing, and people needed to understand particularly what is actually happening. There are companies, there are structures, organizations powering this idea, and they are actually located here. So now, if we want to look at where digital anthropology is and what digital anthropology is actually aiming and looking at, these are the trends. Digital activism. We are all aware of what actually happened during the Arab Spring. You know, the whole team that led to the ouster of the Tunisian president, and then the serious protests that took place in Egypt was through simply, you know, orchestrating and organizing protests through the social media. So that has come to stay. Virtual reality is changing the way things are done. And today we have what we call the metaverse. The metaverse is an upgrade of virtual reality where people could disconnect from the physical world and enter a virtual world altogether and do stuff they couldn't be able to do in the physical world. Now, this also brings about the fact that we need to also hold our own identity, you know, so digital IDs are there. Monies today are actually living, you know, the physical cash that we carry, whether they are coins, whether they are actually paper into, you know, digital currency that are called cryptocurrency. And this is actually closely guided by the technology of blockchain. Again, this culture is bringing an idea altogether that is causing some other issues. Digital addiction affecting our mental state. You know, these are the things that are also being discussed and also being looked at by digital anthropologists. Education has actually been transformed, just like we saw in India and several other places. Our healthcare too is also being transformed by AI and the digital world. Then our behavior is also being affected. In digital reality, we talk about, in virtual reality, we talk about augmented reality, we talk about virtual reality. You know, just when you watch, you look at this picture here, you know, these are pictures that are actually developed, you know, with the technology known as Microsoft HoloLens. Now, Microsoft HoloLens, and then what we call holoanatomy. You know, during the COVID era, one of the things that people have been saying is that how can we conduct practicals, you know, or lab sessions in anatomy, in other sciences and stuff like that. But this technology has actually come to take over. During the COVID, Case Western University continued teaching their students and doing anatomy lab. And that is what you are actually seeing at the bottom right corner. They got these lenses, they send them to the students in their various addresses, and then the professor, you know, at her own address, you know, was able to actually lead a lab session and stuff like that. And this has actually changed. Like right now, there are universities, school systems that are moving into the metaverse, as we are going to see. Metaverse, which is actually a development of Meta, is actually a world where, like we said earlier on, children or young men are actually exploring. And particularly the Gen Zs, which are between the age of 11 and 29, are the people who are actually populating this particular environment, because they enter this environment in a 3D, reality or virtual reality world, and they can do whatever they want to do. One of the things that has happened is that, MTN is one of the leading GSM companies in Africa. They have actually gone and bought 144 plots of land as reported by the cable news. Digital identity that we need to carry. Then also, even though that actually exposes us to vulnerabilities, but we need those and we need to get them protected. Our currency, whether we like it or not, this currency that we are seeing known as cryptocurrencies will come and take over this cash that we are talking and we are looking about. Even though I know countries and governments have been resisting, but I can assure you in the next few years to come, cryptocurrency will come to stay. And that is one of the things that we need to really appreciate as anthropologists, that the way we are doing things while we study people and communities, we need to begin to reorient ourselves, that we're actually entering a different time or a different era of how things are changing. The behavior, this is what we said earlier on about how this is actually affecting people because of this technology. And that is why you can see here, we need to appreciate their risks so that we can develop strategies to mitigate this kind of risks. In 2020, the report by Hootsuite reported the fact that the behavior of people on the digital or the social media can range from 99% sending text and then to 2 hours, 22 minutes, on the social media, to 40% of people actually using the social media for work. By the way, today we know people actually work from home. So you can appreciate that idea. The young people are more, inclined to use this technology. As you can see, when you take people and you go from the younger people to the older people, you can see from almost 3 hours of using the social media to 1 hour or 1 hour, 1.5 hours using the social media in the elderly. How about the gender? There's also a difference between the gender usage of the technology. If you look at the Western world, for instance, the United States, you can see 55% of women and then 45% of men. When you come to Africa, you will then see there are more men actually using this technology than women and stuff like that. So again, that gives us the idea that we really need to look at things. It has its own effects. Cyberbullying, bullying is one of those things, but we need to appreciate so that we can actually address them. Education is changing, the way lectures, the way things are done. So AI is actually affecting, and anthropologists need to really look into it. Proctoring tests, personalized learning, smart content, virtual facilitator, so you don't actually need to, the concept is the fact that, okay, you can actually be in your house and still attend school. It's not like homeschooling, because in homeschooling, your parents or some other person can teach you at home, but this one is that you could actually have people teaching you from all over the world, and that is the idea here. Victor XR, is a company that is poised to changing the way teaching and learning is actually done. And that is why they have moved the idea. They say, okay, since we're having a metaverse, can we actually bring the metaverse and bring university to put together? So putting these two ideas together led to what is called the metaversities. And in the metaversity, why? Because the whole actually metaversity, where actually electrons and interact. In fact, the experience we are going to university, we can test all ideas because actually that is the idea. Now, many universities are developing this concept such that very soon we do not need to go to a place physically, but then again, we can attend our universities. The University of Kansas, is one of those universities that is already putting their nursing program on the metaversity. And how is that?
But there is an addition to it this time around, like this headset and these controllers. Students will be at home, but virtually in the lab.
If you take your brain, guys,
take a look into a Metaversity campus. This is how class will look for students at KU's nursing school this fall.
We'll actually have a lab that is the exact same as the building here that we're in right now.
Students will be in their lab from home using this MetaQuest headset and controller.
In each of the patient rooms have, like I said, multiple different patients. So if we're a day and we're focused on cardiac abnormalities, we can actually go in and listen, look, and feel.
It's a 3D dive into anatomy or a group project as if they were in person. The University of Kansas School of Nursing is one of 10 universities in the U.S. to be a part. Victory XR created the Metaversities a while back, and they say the pandemic made it more prominent.
A nurse can be working out in the field at a hospital or a doctor's office, but then can still take a class, a live synchronous class with other students, and can learn how to perhaps turn a patient or change a Band-Aid.
On top.
Okay, so the idea is that with this background, how is AI going to help us study cultural anthropology? AI will enable us to appreciate and understand, different cultures. Today, we go to do ethnography studies, like we have seen the fact that we need to do participant observation where people will go to actually live among the groups of people or the communities that we really want to understand. But you see, oftentimes they are actually missing links. So what AI is actually doing and is going to help us to appreciate is the fact that some of those things, including language that you will need to learn, will be shortened, because now you have programs that can actually translate automatically or can actually serve as an interpreter for you. You don't need to go and learn the language. You don't even need to go and look for an interpreter and stuff like that. And your documentation and stuff like that, these are all the kinds of things that AI are helping us to achieve, in cultural anthropology. The idea of preservation of culture is very important. Like right now, we have cultures are actually fast disappearing and nothing is actually keeping them. AI will enable us to actually reenact, culture and preserve culture for future generation to be able to actually appreciate. While that is actually happening, there is also the evolution of culture. What is actually happening now is the fact that what we cannot do before, we can do it now. It has become part of our culture. And this AI is enabling us to actually put together while the culture actually evolves. Intercultural communication, very easy. Like I said earlier on, when you need to communicate between different people, you can easily do that. Now you can go to a website and then you can translate, languages from Hindi to English, from English to German, from Polish to English and stuff like that. And then again, we also need to understudy the ethics of AI so that we make AI to be more robust and then to serve the purpose for which is actually going to. For us in biological anthropology, AI can do quite a number of things for us in the area of human evolutionary studies, in the area of genomics and bioinformatics, in the area of primate studies, in the area of healthcare and biomedical research. Now, this is a paper that just related one classical example, about artificial intelligence-based analysis of multi-omics data. And here you are actually looking at cancer patients. So you want to do an analysis using an artificial intelligence platform so that you can do and be able to understand the pattern and the nature of the disease. So you get your cancer patient, you get your healthy controls, you do your multiomics. This data is actually, inserted into the artificial intelligence algorithm, and then this algorithm is able to actually look at the different subtypes, what are the prognosis and stuff like that. And then is able to also do what is called deep learning, and using deep learning, you can be able to develop, strategies for therapeutic targets. And again, timeline where there is actually a cross matching until now, development has actually continued with AlphaGo by the Alphabet company. Google DeepMind's AlphaGo is there pushing for understanding. So when you look at the application of this idea, whether in the evolutionary history of man, whether in tracing lineages, whether in disease and stuff like that, you can appreciate what AI can do. AI can help you to identify motifs, for instance, predict protein function, predict protein secondary structure, which are the essential things, because in rational drug design, these are the things that you actually target to see. So AI is there for us. In our health, this is what you get to benefit from AI. If you look at patient care, automated assisted diagnosis, pregnancy management, health assist, when you get to research and development, drug discovery, drug design, like I've just said earlier on. And for the physician, surgical robots are there. Today, somebody can go to hospital in the morning, he can be operated on, and in the evening, he returns back home. These are all the serious advancement that this idea have actually brought to us. Now, a professor at the Max Planck Institute have actually looked into the idea of evolutionary transition between humans and artificial intelligence. And he believes that while humans can procreate, artificial intelligence for now, it doesn't seem to procreate, or we do not have idea that they can procreate. But he was saying the fact that, okay, this can actually be enabled, when a parent have a device. This device is a cell phone or whatever that device is. If the content of that device can be cloned, into another new device and be given to the progenies of these individuals, that is some kind of procreation by artificial intelligence. Actually, this looks funny, but it has actually been published in the Physiological Transaction of the Royal Society in 2021. In archaeology, site survey, remote sensing, artifact classification, analysis, dating, for instance, where dating can actually be used using certain algorithms and stuff like that, checking and then reporting precisely the date. Public engagement, how is it if you are, for instance, you can actually, an environment can be recreated so that you can actually watch the pyramids of Egypt in the days of the pharaohs when those pyramids are actually being built. These are all the things that will actually be done. In linguistics, natural processing, by the way, the ChatGPT idea is actually based on this natural language processing and stuff like that. Language variation and change over time. Today, we have these ideas, cultural communication, we have seen there on sentiment analysis and discourse analysis. These are all the things that AI is actually helping and venturing into. Last year, a paper was delivered by Professor Harari, where he talked about the idea of AI and the future of humanity. And in that paper, he was making assertion of the fact that we have to be cautious, we have to be very careful, because while we benefit from all the the applications and the productivity of AI, we have to also be very careful because AI is becoming self-aware. You know, you remember we said there are different types of AI. The self-aware state is the one that is the most dangerous. So some people have actually said something before last year. One of them is Stephen Hawking. He said the development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of human race. And that is why we need to wake up as anthropologists. Elon Musk has been, decrying the idea, and he mentioned it very carefully. He said, mark my word, AI is far more dangerous than nukes. So it's something for us to really be afraid of. And Nick Bostrom said, machine intelligence is the last invention that humanity will ever need to make. What does that mean? Because if machines become intelligent, then humans will really need to give way. And that is where the fear is. Artificial intelligence is destroying the traditional world of work that we are very familiar with. And that is why it's actually posing as a threat. Dave Waters said something. He said, I know a lot about artificial intelligence, but not as much as it knows about me. You know, when you know much about something, but the person knows more about you than you know about him, is something to really be afraid. So what are the risks? The risks are job displacement, there is bias, there is defects, there is weaponization, and then there is power seeking. Now, these are all the things that we are asked to actually ensure to regulate. We shouldn't allow this thing to happen. Just this year, the Saudi Kingdom have actually released their robot. Their robot is called Muhammad, and is the first robot that the Saudi Kingdom was able to produce, and they did that to be able to show their own fit in the area of in the artificial intelligence. But something happened. This robot is being accused of sexual harassment. Just watch the video. So you can see the robot actually push forward his hand to touch the butt of the reporter. And this story went viral, that the robot is actually sexually harassing the reporter. So you can see the self-conscious or the awareness we are talking about. Also, recently in London, a number of robots were roaming the street. Now, the fear is that it gets to a time where you cannot actually know the next person sitting by your side, whether it's a human or it's a robot. So, if you see people walking like this on the street, you'll be able to identify them to be robots. Maybe you could, because when you look at the head for now, but assume they try to wear some gears on the head, you will not be able to actually say particularly. So what is the conclusion? We are concluding the idea of the fact that human societies are actually undergoing changes, and these changes is actually being introduced by the digitalization of the culture, which is now being overtaken by AI. So, and ecosystems are existing and are evolving over time. The Internet of Things, Metaverse, and AI is the major thing propelling. And the anthropology is actually losing the face in the face of this digital revolution. Because remember, we are studying people and communities. Then there is an addition of another group of entities altogether. And so we need to start rethinking the way we do things. Anthropology in this instance may become endangered unless anthropologists actually wake up to the challenge to study, to help in regulating, the whole technology before it is too late. So what can we recommend? We recommend the fact that anthropology need to actually wake up and speedily to adapt to the changing environment. While we look at climate, climate is is something we need to pay attention to, but we should also understand the fact that the artificial intelligence can be more dangerous than climate change. And that is why we need to start thinking fast. We need to also become digital anthropologists, because it's actually on that platform that we can key into the evolving technology to be able to help in the regulation. And that is why I'm saying that we need to upskill ourselves with the knowledge of AI to ensure that we help in the ethics, in the regulation, so that AI can become useful to mankind, not that AI should overtake mankind, like Elon Musk said, to be more dangerous than nukes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Danborno, for your excellent presentation and insights and recommendations. Now, dear friends, it is time for reflection and posing questions to the speaker.
I don't know how it is going to affect, all aspects of anthropology. But when it comes to health, as Dr. Danborno said, AI is playing, a very critical role, in getting information from so many omics studies like metabolomics, transcriptomics, and all kinds of omics, and give us an idea about disease profile, and also helping us, to find drug targets. So from that angle, it looks really pretty good. But when it comes to other components of anthropology, I don't know how it is going to affect. And if it comes into picture, what happens to participant observation? They are very critical questions that one should think about. Okay, I hope, some of our colleagues are here from cultural anthropology background. It would be very helpful for us to know how it's going to affect. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to thank Professor Danborno for a wonderful explanation. I was just curious, following up on your comment about healthcare and how AI can do wonderful things, but can also enhance health inequities. As you rightfully indicated, you said 50% of the planet has access to digital sorts of platforms. Maybe 60% on today currently could have access to internet. That leaves a large chunk of humans that have no access to things that you and I, in terms of advanced diagnostics. So is this a further fragmentation of humanity? Technology hasn't done so well during our lifetime. So sorry to be so. And then the comment as a teacher during COVID, as I'm sure I don't think that the world really, in terms of the assessment of online education, is getting very favorable. In the United States, if one were to pursue a postgraduate degree online, that would be seen as a very secondary, as not particularly premier. And in a variety of fields, certainly is the one that you do, my close colleagues who do anatomy, frustrated that it's not the same. And I think that as Dr. Robbie talks about, doing participant observation is an art form that defies a machine, but I think it's extremely useful. Data mine, many of the things that you've talked about. And I think that we should embrace this as a useful technology and not be so frightened of it, but also be aware of some of the surveillance aspects, some of the loss of privacy, and the fragmentation and the inequities that we see growing, not shrinking. These are systems that have been designed primarily for military purposes, for targeting. And that, having increased targeting has not made the world more peaceful, unfortunately. The exact opposite. So you're raising some fantastic questions that I think, and particularly from somebody who is not primarily a cultural anthropologist. My hat's off to you. Then that's really useful. So I'll shut up and let others contribute. So thank you very much for sharing your expertise and your point of view and knowledge. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. It was a fantastic, presentation, and
Absolutely.
I I agree with you, Dr. Bott. Uh, it's going to be very challenging, and the COVID-19 has taught us lots of things.
Mm.
In-person classrooms are absolutely different from you know electronic based conversations. Yep.
That's true. That's true.
But
And
on that
also,
note, the fact that we're having this interaction
Mm.
it supports, I think, one's argument about the positive aspects of we'll say AI for lack of better terms, because there is some AI going into what you and I are doing right now. So that's a wonderful thing that we didn't have before to communicate.
yeah, again, when it comes to omics and health, there is extraordinary stratification in the world. Only advanced countries have the ability to utilize that kind of expertise, whereas majority of the non-European countries are far behind in technology. And when it comes to genomics, and that is a big thing. You know, for example, in the US, not much data, are available, um, you know, uh, on minority populations, throughout the world, especially when it comes to genomics of health and disease. And there's a big divide between the world's nations. And if people continue using it in classrooms, again, there will be a big divide, I think, between countries that have the ability to utilize this technology versus those they still are far behind, to reach, that kind of knowledge and skills.
And Dr. Ravi, you bring up some really fundamental questions about anthropological genetics and the way that from my point of view, that there's a deep colonial, a tinge to it. The majority of collections from non-European or North America are held in those. So me, who works in South America, begins to think what happens over time where the vast majority of those archives are accessed in Canada or somewhere else, and the interest behind that is an insurance firm or a survey. The individuals themselves have nothing to do with it. These are big ethical questions. So,
Yeah.
But it's good that
Lots
we're
of
talking about it. We can't avoid it. So, and it brings
Yes.
us the power of anthropology, I think.
Yep. Yeah. Very interesting presentation, and lots of
Thank you.
questions. Yeah. Yeah.
Great to generate nice anthropology talks.
Mm.
Congratulations.
Dear friends, any more questions? This AI is effective on the available data, whereas anthropologists, they generate data, new knowledge. So how do you see the interrelationship between AI and anthropology, who generate knowledge from empirical field work and observation and participant observation, all these things? And AI, if it does not have the available data, it says, I don't know this part of the this thing kind of. So how do you see the relationship between anthropological fieldwork and generating the original first-hand knowledge of the communities and AI and its impact, vice versa?
Yes, while ethnographic studies can actually be perspective, AI, just like you said, is actually dependent on retrospective data. That is where the idea of the big data comes to play. Now, the big data concept actually has certain hidden information in it, that what the AI does is to actually rely on this data, look for patterns, and make a distinction This decision, at the end of the day, is actually going to reflect on the people's expectation. For instance, one of the easy and simple way that you actually get to see AI operate is the fact that when you pick up your phone and you have an account, for instance, in let's assume you have a Netflix account, or you have an account with any of these global, news outlets, whether it's Time Magazine, whether it's the New York Times or whatever. What actually happens there is the fact that the AI actually operates on the basis of your own behavior. You get the logic. And that is why when I pick my own phone and you pick your own phone and we actually visit the same website, the content that we are going to see will vary from my own phone to your own phone, because AI is actually operating at that level and getting us information that he believes they are actually specific to our needs. And that is what AI actually does in the area of ethnographic studies. It's able to actually look into previous data and be able to give you an idea of what will actually be even in this one that you have not studied. And by the time you actually enter the population to study and you come back, you will discover that you already have an idea of what you actually expected, because the AI has actually provided or given you an insight into what you are actually studying. So that is the concept, of the big data stuff.
Dr. Gotti, I wanted to follow up because I'm like you, somewhat skeptical, but I agree with what I've just heard in terms of a big data set and then the emphasis on estimative intelligence, so that we as humans are incapable of entertaining everything. But when we have enough data points, we can start predicting, from epidemiology to disasters to political crises. I mean, right now it's very blunt, but the way the digital revolution shifts from a binary yes, no to more quantum, so that multiple choices, and that it comes up with possible logical. So again, I come back to my position. It should be used as a tool, and we shouldn't be afraid of it. In the classroom, some people get all stressed out about AI essays and things. My point would be that the student is engaging with the material. If they can use it as a framework and know more about it, wonderful, compared to what we had before. So, that's my own personal opinion. But these are debatable, at many levels. And I thank our speaker for opening up a robust conversation that spans continents, ideas, practices, ethical views.
And also in academics, constantly some institutions are warning, don't cheat people using AI at the time of writing grants or doing exams.
Well, Robert,
Exactly.
you bring up something that we haven't even touched on. What are the labor implications of what Professor has just brought up? Increasingly in the United States, we go to supermarket and there's not a human that's checking us out. It's a machine.
Yes.
Dehumanization. But there's pushback on that. There's on multiple levels, so that we are not just robots in a robotic world. That's what human. Well,
yes, great, okay.
Well, I look forward to the next. Thank you. Look forward to the next conversation and the next wonderful talk. We should have more of these, particularly the international flavor. Really is wonderful. And thank you, Dr. Gotti, and for making it a reality.
Thank you, friends.
Thank you.
Now, thank you, Professor Danborno, for your very relevant and very contemporary challenge you have taken up. And this is amazing. And thank you for your thought-provoking and providing the lead, so that this is the next task that we need to take up, kind of thing. So after the climate change, providing the future direction. And excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. for your wonderful hard work and putting things together and making us understand what is happening around the world. Thank you.